Alright guys, welcome back to another Patreon request, and this one comes from Christopher Rosa, who asked me to do a video talking about the possibility of prehistoric dinosaurs and of cryptids being still around today. Now, this was inspired by a video talking of my whole disdain for the theory that Megalodon is still alive. I did that video a few weeks ago, and he was inspired by this to ask me as one of his requests for Patreon. And as always, if you would like a Patreon request done, just hit the link below to go to my Patreon, and you'll get some not only be able to hit the 4th tier and request video request for here on YouTube, but you can also check out the exclusive content with that on that channel, I mean. Anyway, other than that, let's get into this video. Now, as we know, there are a lot of people who say, like, dinosaurs still walk the earth. Obviously, Nessie, who is more than likely, it's this at this point that Nessie is not a plesiosaurus. It's probably a very big eel. Which, I don't understand why people are so mad about, like, oh, Nessie has to be a plesiosaur, it's not real. I'm like, there's something in there. I think we should all be happy about that. Like, that kind of proves that there could be life there of a cryptid. Granted, it's a big eel, but still, that's something. Now, we are going to be talking about the prehistoric life of the Burrinjor. I know I probably butchered that name, but it's a cryptid that is T-Rex-like. You also have, like, in Siberia, you have sightings of mammoths, supposedly, and you also have, in Africa, which we'll get to, I think that's the big one right there, is you have sightings of Mokele Mbembe, you have sightings of the Kasai Rex, and let's dive into this real quick of why seeing dinosaurs is really is near impossible. Now, I say near impossible because of all the places, it does make a lot of sense as to why people would think that, because despite what everyone thinks, Australia is actually really big. Australia is a really big place, and there are some places that are still unexplored. Now, granted, I don't think you could sustain a carnivore of that size. There was a T-Rex-like carnivore, and I got the phone out so I could try to pronounce this. Australoventenor, I think, or the Australian Rex, as it's sometimes called. It was an early to late Cretaceous theropod and was known as the lightning claw. It was a very big predator, and not as big as T-Rex, but it was like an offshoot of it, to some people's theory. Now, that creature needs a lot of food. For most theropods, you need to consume a lot of meat. If you are moving that fast, you need to consume a lot of meat. And unfortunately, I'm sorry to say, there is no way in Australia a theropod of that size could sustain himself on what's there. Because what's really there? You have buffalo, yeah, but you need a lot of buffalo to feed on. You would also need to eat kangaroos, monitor lizards. There's nothing really there that could sustain the calorie intake for a dinosaur, a theropod of this size, of something close to the size of T-Rex. And you could say, oh, but couldn't there be other dinosaurs as well? The problem is that while there is a lot of Australia unexplored, that continent is getting smaller and smaller because there is expansion out there, and the fires really did a damn good job of destroying a lot of the forests. And I'm sorry to say, if those forests didn't scare up a dinosaur, then I don't know what to tell you. The thing is that something like that has to need a lot of food. Is there shelter in Australia? Absolutely. There is plenty, and I do stress plenty, of unexplored jungles out there. There is so much of unexplored landscape there. But unfortunately, you would need a whole ecosystem for a predator of that size to eat. And unfortunately, it would probably starve if there were, it'd probably kill off whatever ceratopsians or, sauropods that are there. So, the Burrinjor is probably not real. I know, I apologize for butchering the cryptid's name. Now, however, I do give a little credence to, if there's any cryptid that could, prehistoric animal that could still be alive, I would say that there is a chance for something of like the Tasmanian tiger, or even I would say Megalania. Megalania and the Tasmanian wolf do have a better shot. I'm not saying I'm confirming it. I'm saying if any of those, if any cryptid was any prehistoric animal or extinct animal was going to survive in the environment, it would be those two, along with some other animals from the Pliocene era of those animals. There is enough foliage, there's enough food, and there's enough space for them to hide. It's not like with a dinosaur nearly the size of T-Rex, where it's a lot harder to move around in. Also, the CO2 in our air is a lot harder than it was in the air in the Cretaceous period. It's harder to breathe when you are the size of a goddamn house, and the air in the world, the oxygen in the air is not the same as it was back then. Now, having said that, we turn to the Congo in Africa, where we do hear a lot of noise. Now, the Congo is very unexplored because of the political turmoil of that country. And there have been massive reports of course, the Mokele Mbembe. There is also, of course, the Kasai Rex, who... it's not a T-Rex. It's probably not a T-Rex. T-Rex is not geologically a part of that era of... that geological area of the world. It was mostly North America. What was there that does match a lot of the landscape is the Carcharodontosaurus. Huge motherfucker of a predator. And it is known as a large What's interesting is that they got most of what you hear about the Kasai Rex is scarily close to a Carcharodontosaurus description, where it's bigger than a T-Rex, and it has more fingers than it. That's the big thing. If you were going to say, oh, that's not real, it would say, like, it looks like a T-Rex only has 2 fingers. No, they're saying it has 3 fingers, and its snout is like a crocodile, very much like Carcharodontosaurus. Now, the problem is that Carcharodontosaurus... I'm sorry if I keep scratching my leg. I've got like an ant bite on me, and it's really itchy. Sorry. I apologize. I've just been scratching it, and I'm like, oh, it's so itchy. Anyway, I'm off topic. So, like I said, the big thing you have to look at is that Carcharodontosaurus lived in what is now Northern Africa, and mainly Egypt and Sudan, and like areas like that. It would not be, and it had its territory did all the way go to Central Africa. And it's interesting because, like I said, a lot of the Congo is very much unexplored. I think we've only gotten like 15-20%. Again, because of the political turmoil of that country has barred a lot of people from seeing what's there. Now, Carcharodontosaurus, the problem, however, is that we run into the same problem with the Burundjor. Carcharodontosaurus would need to eat a lot of there would need to be a massive calorie intake for the Kasai Rex, if it is Carcharodontosaurus. The problem, again, is that it does not have that food. It does not have that, and again, it's a big predator. It needs that kind of lung capacity and the CO2 to breathe, which, in fairness, it probably has a better shot at than in Australia, because there is a lot of unexplored territory, and the CO2 in Central Africa, apparently, because of the less deforestation of that area, is mostly, it's cleaner. So there's an argument you could say that maybe a big predator, but again, it would need constant prey. It would need... Now, you could make the argument, and I could see it, that it could hunt modern-day mammals. The animals there, you could see, in theory, sustaining a large predator. Elephants. There have been elephants in the Congo. Rhinos. Gorillas. Big cats. You have animals, especially giraffes, elephants, and, primate, gorillas, chimpanzees, and elephants especially would probably be an excellent substitute for, like, ceratopsians or other massive herbivores for this creature. And again, elephants would probably be the best one. Here's the problem, though. Elephants are hella endangered. So, food is going to be very scarce, especially in the Congo, where elephants and other of those animals that, if you in theory, hypothetically, Carcharodontosaurus preyed on, it'd be looking for it's running out of food. So, it's either going to, A, starve to death, or B, cannibalize whatever it came across of its own kind. Which, yeah, I would imagine the species has probably dwindled over the years. And again, here's the big problem with having... now, here's the obvious big problem, the dinosaur in the room. The motherfucker is big. Like, really big. Carcharodontosaurus was one of the largest carnivores on Earth. And the problem is, when you're that big, you're gonna make some noise. Now you could say, oh, the jungle's so deep. Yeah, eventually you wouldn't think that one of these giant over 40-foot predators would come bumblefucking out of the jungle and attack like a village or something for food. You don't think, like most animals, it would come out of hiding to ravage, not ravage, excuse me. It would not come out of... It would probably smell something it would like from a village or like a small town and come in. And when you're over 40 feet long, you don't really fear humans. Like, you're not afraid of humans in the least. So you would stand to reason if you're one of the largest predators on Earth. You are the king of the motherfucking jungle. And you smell something you like coming from a small little human village. And you would have no fear of them. You would have no fear of humans. And also, territory is another major factor with these predators. They're massive animals who require massive amount of territory. And if there were multiple versions of the Carcharodontosaurus existing, they would have each a massive territory unless they're all dead. And I don't even know, it would also stand to reason if something was that big, it would leave a body when it died. You would see it. So, I would love to see dinosaurs exist again. Don't get me wrong. And again, like Mokele Mbembe, there's another one. There's also apparently another cryptid that's come my way that is from Central Africa called the Numong Nokong. I'm gonna butcher that name. I apologize, but it's also literally and it's also how scary accurate the depiction is of a Spinosaurus. It's supposed to be a crocodile on two legs with a sail on its back. Now, it could be that it may be like local people saw Jurassic Park 3 and said, oh yeah, that's, oh, totally, that's what we saw. Or, you also take into account that, yeah, some of these villages never saw Jurassic Park. Like, some of these people live in third world countries and never saw Jurassic Park in their fucking life. And they know what it looks like, and they've never seen a Spinosaurus skeleton in their fucking life, and they can point out what that is. Same with Carcharodontosaurus. They're like, the Kasai Rex looks like that. Or Mokele Mbembe looks like that. Looks like a sauropod. Now, Spinosaurus is interesting because if Spinosaurus was the largest predator on Earth, but its diet was mostly fish. So, and here's the problem with that. The fish are a lot smaller than they were before, in the Cretaceous era. So the problem with that is that Spinosaurus would either need to change its diet over the era or got smaller. That's another thing, is that evolution has this tendency to make things smaller when things get tough. So you would stand to, let's throw this theory out, is that, let's say Carcharodontosaurus and Spinosaurus, or at least a good number of them to breed through the ages, existed. It would stand to reason over the thousands of years of, geological changes and, the world just basically getting smaller, that these dinosaurs would evolve throughout the ages, getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Like, I'm not saying like they would get like the size of a chicken, but they would like decrease in size to a good amount. So that's the other problem I have. Would I like to see, like, I would love nothing more than to switch on the news and be like, actual footage of the Kasai Rex, it's a fucking Carcharodontosaurus out there. And honestly, like I said, the Congo, in theory, if there was anywhere where a dinosaur was going to hide, Central Africa is the best place. Like, you could hide there, like, you could hide something that big in such a dense and large area. And it may have enough food and the resources to survive. But for how long, that's the big question. So, yeah. Same with sorry, my brain. That's the big problem with wanting to see, you know, these prehistoric cryptids, is that the world just isn't as big as it used to be. Yeah. So there you go, guys. That is pretty much my thoughts on this. So you guys tell me in the comments below, what did you guys think of this? Comment below, let me know. Once again, I'd like to thank Christopher Rosa for this video, and if you would like to have a video done, Patreon request done, just hit the link below to my Patreon. Other than that, I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the multiverse.